Chapter 13. Character. The true gentleman. For who can always act? But he, to whom 1,000 memories call, not being less but more than all the gentleness he seemed to be, but seemed the thing he was, and joined each office of the social hour to noble manners, as the flower and native growth of noble mind. And thus he bore without abuse the grand old name of gentleman. Tennyson. Es bildet ein Talent sich in der Still, sich ein Character in dem Strom der Welt. Goethe. That which raises a country, that which strengthens a country, and that which dignifies a country, that which spreads her power, creates her moral influence, and makes her respected and submitted to, bends the hearts of millions, and bows down the pride of nations to her, the instrument of obedience, the fountain of supremacy, the true throne, crown, and scepter of a nation. This aristocracy is not an aristocracy of blood, not an aristocracy of fashion, not an aristocracy of talent only. It is an aristocracy of character. That is the true heraldry of man. The Times. The crown and glory of life is character. It is the noblest possession of a man, constituting a rank in itself, and an estate in the general goodwill, dignifying every station, and exalting every position in society. It exercises a greater power than wealth, and secures all the honor without the jealousies of fame. It carries with it an influence which always tells, for it is the result of proved honor, rectitude, and consistency, qualities which, perhaps more than any other, command the general confidence and respect of mankind. Character is human nature in its best form. It is moral order embodied in the individual. Men of character are not only the conscience of society, but in every well-governed state they are its best motive power. For it is moral qualities in the main which rule the world. Even in war, Napoleon said the moral is to the physical as 10 to 1. The strength, the industry, and the civilization of nations, all depend upon individual character. And the very foundations of civil security rest upon it. Laws and institutions are but its outgrowth. In the just balance of nature, individuals, nations, and races, will obtain just so much as they deserve, and no more. And as effect finds its cause, so surely does quality of character amongst a people produce its befitting results. Though a man have comparatively little culture, slender abilities, and but small wealth, yet, if his character be of sterling worth, he will always command an influence, whether it be in the workshop, the counting-house, the mart, or the senate. Canning wisely wrote in 1801, "My road must be through character to power. I will try no other course. And I am sanguine enough to believe that this course, though not perhaps the quickest, is the surest." You may admire men of intellect, but something more is necessary before you will trust them. Hence Lord John Russell once observed in a sentence full of truth, "It is the nature of party in England to ask the assistance of men of genius, but to follow the guidance of men of character." This was strikingly illustrated in the career of the late Francis Horner, a man of whom Sidney Smith said that the 10 Commandments were stamped upon his countenance. "The valuable and peculiar light," says Lord Cockburn, "in which his history is calculated to inspire every right-minded youth, is this: he died at the age of 38, possessed of greater public influence than any other private man, and admired, beloved, trusted, and deplored by all, except the heartless or the base. No greater homage was ever paid in Parliament to any deceased member. Now let every young man ask, how is this attained? By rank? He was the son of an Edinburgh merchant. By wealth? Neither he, nor any of his relations, ever had a superfluous sixpence. By office? He held but one, and only for a few years, of no influence, and with very little pay. By talents? His were not splendid, and he had no genius. Cautious and slow, his only ambition was to be right. By eloquence? He spoke in calm, good taste, without any of the oratory that either terrifies or seduces. By any fascination of manner? His was only correct and agreeable. By what, then, was it? Merely by sense, industry, good principles, and a good heart, qualities which no well-constituted mind need ever despair of attaining. It was the force of his character that raised him. And this character not impressed upon him by nature, but formed, out of no peculiarly fine elements, by himself. There were many in the House of Commons of far greater ability and eloquence. But no one surpassed him in the combination of an adequate portion of these with moral worth. Horner was born to show what moderate powers, unaided by anything whatever except culture and goodness, may achieve, even when these powers are displayed amidst the competition and jealousy of public life. Franklin, also, attributed his success as a public man, not to his talents or his powers of speaking, for these were but moderate, but to his known integrity of character. Hence it was, he says, that I had so much weight with my fellow citizens. I was but a bad speaker, never eloquent, subject to much hesitation in my choice of words, hardly correct in language, and yet I generally carried my point. Character creates confidence in men in high station as well as in humble life. It was said of the first Emperor Alexander of Russia, that his personal character was equivalent to a constitution. During the Wars of the Fronde, Montaigne was the only man amongst the French gentry who kept his castle gates unbarred. And it was said of him, that his personal character was a better protection for him than a regiment of horse would have been. That character is power, is true in a much higher sense than that knowledge is power. Mind without heart, intelligence without conduct, cleverness without goodness, are powers in their way, but they may be powers only for mischief. We may be instructed or amused by them, but it is sometimes as difficult to admire them as it would be to admire the dexterity of a pickpocket or the horsemanship of a highwayman. Truthfulness, integrity, and goodness, qualities that hang not on any man's breath, form the essence of manly character, or, as one of our old writers has it, that inbred loyalty into virtue which can serve her without a livery. He who possesses these qualities, united with strength of purpose, carries with him a power which is irresistible. He is strong to do good, strong to resist evil, and strong to bear up under difficulty and misfortune. When Stephen of Colonna fell into the hands of his base assailants, and they asked him in derision, "Where is now your fortress?" "Here," was his bold reply, placing his hand upon his heart. It is a misfortune that the character of the upright man shines forth with the greatest luster. And when all else fails, he takes stand upon his integrity and his courage. The rules of conduct followed by Lord Erskine, a man of sterling independence of principle and scrupulous adherence to truth, are worthy of being engraven on every young man's heart. "It was a first command and counsel of my earliest youth," he said, "always to do what my conscience told me to be a duty, and to leave the consequence to God. I shall carry with me the memory, and I trust the practice, of this parental lesson to the grave. I have hitherto followed it, and I have no reason to complain that my obedience to it has been a temporal sacrifice. I have found it, on the contrary, the road to prosperity and wealth, and I shall point out the same path to my children for their pursuit. Every man is bound to aim at the possession of a good character as one of the highest objects of life. The very effort to secure it by worthy means will furnish him with a motive for exertion. And his idea of manhood, in proportion as it is elevated, will steady and animate his motive. It is well to have a high standard of life, even though we may not be able altogether to realize it. The youth, says Mr. Disraeli, who does not look up will look down. And the spirit that does not soar is destined perhaps to grovel. George Herbert wisely writes, "Pitch thy behavior low, thy projects high, so shall thou humble and magnanimous be. Sink not in spirit. Who aimeth at the sky shoots higher much than he that means a tree. He who has a high standard of living and thinking will certainly do better than he who has none at all. Pluck at a gown of gold, says the Scotch proverb, and you may get a sleeve o' single quotee. Whoever tries for the highest results cannot fail to reach a point far in advance of that from which he started. And though the end attained may fall short of that proposed, still, the very effort to rise, of itself cannot fail to prove permanently beneficial.